All right, everybody, welcome to our program again today. Today, we're talking about a very interesting subject, which is making a great presentation. Now, making a great presentation of solutions begins by making a great presentation of the problems. Remember, there is no such thing as a solution unless there's a corresponding problem. Why should somebody take the risk and spend more money and invest in their system if there's no risk or downside or anything negative about the current situation that exists? So, whenever you're struggling to get people to make a purchase or create urgency and desire, or even get them to choose a more premium option, the odds are it's because you're not doing a good enough job of creating dissonance, which is the opposite of harmony, in your presentation at the beginning. This segment is called the money warning. And today we're going to cover the basic situations that make up the money warning and why it works so good, with corresponding that money warning with a presentation of solutions. So let's go ahead and talk about the money warning today. We have a couple of worksheets here. One worksheet is on a fill in the blanks worksheet, which goes over some thoughts and some ideas about why the money warning works and why we should do that, and also how to use it. And then secondly, we go over sort of an outline as to what it would look like if you're doing a money warning. And this week, we're just going to do the basic money warning, so you've got each segment down pat. Next week, I'm going to have you practice it by heart as you make a presentation, and we go forward that way. So let's first talk about the reason for this meeting today. We're doing this meeting because I want to make sure that I realize that people hold back on the highest price solutions and the most premium solutions. And if you don't think so, well, just ask yourself. If you're a comfort advisor or a salesperson or a group leader, how many opportunities are you selling that do at least $20,000 per opportunity? There are people out there averaging over $20,000. And if you're not even hitting one or two of those, well, the odds are you're holding back on your prices. And if you're a service tech who's not even doing any calls, which are $4,000 or $3,000 per call, if you're not even doing $2,000 average, most likely you are holding back on the premium solutions. And one of the reasons you are is because you have a fear, most likely. I know I did when I was a service technician. The fear is that you're going to get people upset if the price is too high. Well, the money warning is the antithesis, the thing that allows us to give us the permission to go ahead and present premium solutions. So, many people think there's be a perception of bad value when you present the premium solution, but this is an irrational thought, based on an incorrect assumption that people purchased based on price. In the history of services, nobody has ever purchased on the price. They purchase on value. Now, science proves the brain, once again, works in mysterious ways. One of the ways we can talk about is a study that was done by Dr. Antonio Rangel, and his colleagues used a functional magnetic resonance imaging. And what they did was they had several glasses of wine, and they put them in front of people, and they labeled each wine with a different price, the premium price being $150 per glass, down to $100 per glass, then down to $75, $50, and finally $25 and $15 per glass, right? And so they said, well, taste the wine. And the imaging on the brain was that as they drank the more expensive wines, the nerve centers and the neurons start to activate when they drank the more expensive wine. The pleasure centers, if you will, were activated. So it shows that people, when they purchase something more premium, have a better time. I mean, can't we admit that every time we've been somewhere where it's really nice, like a skybox at a game when our boss took us there, or maybe we went to a nice hotel and we just felt good, or went to one of the theme parks where we were treated really well, that we may have had that great pleasure center because we treated ourselves to a premium experience. Well, higher prices don't bring value to identical products, however. The only time that higher prices bring more value is when the product is customized and relevant for the people working about. So using like-minded things, like if I can get a gallon of gas and just charge more for it, it's not going to work. But if you do have somebody pumping the gas for you, which is a service increases, then the pleasure center starts to work again because now I'm not having to do any work. And now we know it's why it's worth more money like in a place like New Jersey where people pump our gas for us, right? So, what is the fear of loss costing us? Well, the fear of loss is costing jobs by offering too much of a the fear of losing jobs by offering too much of a solution. It's rational and or irrational, and the seeds of creating mediocrity in techs and salespeople in the company. And I think the importance of not selling the best solutions in the company will turn into the company doing poor workmanship and a culture of poor solutions where everybody's doing the cheap options, and that's not going to be good for anything. It's not going to be good for how much money you make. It's not going to be good for the callbacks or the guy who's on call, because we're going to have lack of quality work, and that's going to be paying the price in actual effort. In fact, I believe the fear of loss when it comes to this it causes the salesperson to limit the solution a customer can receive, and maybe the single most destructive force in the contracting industry. Now, it's ironic that most contractors, service techs, and salespeople perceive themselves to be the highest quality, yet they continue to present mediocre or poor solutions because of this fear. It is ironic because the very thing that they fear doing, presenting higher price, may be the only thing that will align their customer with the belief that your company is the higher quality company. So this meeting today, we're going to talk about how we can show people these different lessons. Now, as you can recall, you may have even learned a lesson from your spouse. If you've ever had a situation where maybe your spouse, or even when you were a child, may have tried to warn people they're about to hear some bad news. So have you ever heard the words from your wife or your loved one, honey, I have some bad news to tell you. Do you promise not to get mad at me if I tell you what happened today? Now, you may have used this on your mom or your dad, like, Dad, I have to tell you something bad that happened at school today. Can I tell you what happened? And you promise you won't get mad at me? So in a way, you're kind of using the science of creating dissonance so that the situation you're about to present doesn't seem anywhere near as bad as they originally had thought. So giving people the warning, sort of laying down the groundwork, right? And this all comes back to the theory of dissonance at work. To understand the word dissonance, it means the opposite of the word harmony. And again, harmony would be when people purchase, but there is no reason for people to purchase if there's something that's non-harmonious or unharmonious inside of us. So the unharmonious feeling inside of us drives us to take actions to get ourselves back to a state of harmony as soon as possible. For example, when we commit and finally purchase a new electronic device, we happily read the articles that praise it, but then we feel bad and discard any information that shows our decision to be unwise. So the theory of dissonance is basically that once we freely, publicly committed to something, we feel dissonance when confronted with the information that we have made a poor decision. So with that in mind, the state of harmony is something that's locked in once we've made that voluntary commitment. So the dissonance formula is get a commitment early in the call, create dissonance when you are going to do the money warning, offer a way out by saying we got these solutions, and then present the solutions, right? So getting a commitment to proceed is important because it's something that's going to be counted on when you do the money warning. So the money warning is used right before you're going to present the options. So don't do the money warning while you're presenting. Remember, don't give the information too soon, because when you do that, you diminish the money warning as it goes. So as we go through this worksheet, let's go ahead and look at this worksheet and go through it and see what we have. So question 1 on the worksheet, it says, what is the core reason that service professionals decide not to inform customers of the very best solutions to increase the level of quality, reliability, safety, health, and customer service they could receive? And again, I think it's a fear of losing the customer. Fear that if we have a higher price, that we will get flamed on the internet, or we will be embarrassed or exposed that our prices are higher. Well, let me just tell you a simple secret, that if you are a premium company, your prices are going to be higher, and that is all there is to it. Question number 2, what does the science show us that higher prices indicate about services which we are unfamiliar with and the quality is difficult to find? Well, number 2, it shows us that as things that we're not familiar with are a higher price, like if we went to a place like France and we saw something that was a higher priced meal, we would obviously think it's a better one because we're not familiar with it. And so it's, hey, just give me the really good one. If I'm going to be in France, let me have a really good bottle of wine, or let me have a really good meal. I'm going to spend more money on it, right? And I think we all do that with restaurants too. We know that if somebody charges us $75 for a steak, it's going to be a lot better. And I think sometimes it actually just tastes better because it's only $75 than if we get the $35 steak at a different place, right? So number three, what is the only thing that can work against that science and create lower value in the minds of the buyer? Well, that would be if we do not introduce any dissonance. So if we launch right into a presentation and say something like, oh, I've got good news, I found the problem, and it's going to be really easy to fix. Here, let me go over the solutions. Well, that works against us because now we have no dissonance. So to provide solutions where people don't see a problem is not going to be in the cards for having people make a purchase on a consistent basis. Number five, what are some other real world examples you had in trying to prepare someone that they will have to spend money unexpectedly? You know, you have a parents or your spouse. Remember when you were a kid? It's like, Mom, can I tell you something that, please, I want to tell you something that I'm really upset about, but can you promise not to get mad at me? Yeah, what is it, honey? Well, I put a little dent on the side of a car, but don't worry, I've got some solution. I went to the auto body shop, and it's going to cost us, they said $190 to pull the dent out, just a small little ding. And I told them I would pay it out of my allowance, so I would take care of it and take it out of my allowance. Is that okay, Mom? And she's like, well, that's okay, honey. I think you should just get a job and then you could pay it off. Oh, that's even better, Mom. Thanks a lot. So in a way, you prepared your parents for that situation, and then they were, maybe even they could come up with a solution too, right? Number six, what is the scientific law of persuasion that makes the money warning work? And that is, of course, the law of dissonance, which was originally discovered or put out there as a theory of dissonance by Leon Festinger, Dr. Leon Festinger in 1957. So why the money warning? Why is the money warning necessary when creating high quality solutions? Well, again, if you don't get people prepared for a high quality solution by showing them a high problem or a problem that's equally as bad as the solution is good, here's a rule. Nobody can ever purchase a solution that's better than the perception of the problem. So the solution has to be equal to whatever the problem we're presenting is. If the problem isn't as bad, the solutions will wind up sinking down to the level of that problem. Make sense? So this is the art of describing the problem. So let's go over the real quick basic money warning step by step. First, we have step one, creating dissonance. We'll start with, and all of you are going to do this with our coach right now in real time. Step one is, John, I found some issues that are going to affect the lifespan of the system and the health of your family. Now, how would you like to proceed at this point? Oh my goodness, what have you found? Well, I don't like what I'm seeing. It's actually worse than I thought. Oh my goodness, that doesn't sound too good. No, don't worry, I got some solutions to solve the problem. Oh good, what's the problem? Well, the problem is we have a fault in the ignition system, or we have electrical fault in the voltage control system, or a fracture fault in the sewage removal system, whatever system it is, right? Also, the system hasn't been serviced in a few years and neglect has taken its toll. And it's also designed, it hasn't been updated, so there's some things that need to be done as well too. So we have some pretty big issues here. Oh no, yeah, it's the way it is. Is it serious? Yeah, it's very serious. Okay, now we go into step number three, the explanation of solutions. So, okay, I've worked up 6 options, 2 premium, 2 mid-range, and 2 economy choices. The top option you're probably not going to want because it's the most premium way to solve the problem, where it completely renovates the whole system and gives you the best service and warranty as well. Don't worry though, because I got some other options toward the bottom that are more economical and probably more what you expected. But either way, take a look at all of them. Here's number 4. Get a voluntary commitment. Either way, would you do me a favor and take a look at them and stay calm? Look at the options and tell me what's right for your family. Yeah, that'd be fine. I'll be happy to do that. Good. Let me go ahead and show you what I got. Now we launch into the presentation. This week we're going to show you the basic money warning. I want everybody to go through the basic money warning and see what it sounds like. Of course, I want you to use your trade as opposed to ignition system. I want you to use a drain system or a hot water containment system for plumbing, and maybe electrical distribution system for electricians. But then next week we're going to go and open up the playbook. I want to hear what it sounds like when you're doing this, and we're going to introduce a new subject called the money warning magic, which is going to be something that introduces a magic moment into the scenario as well to make it even better. Well, that's all we have for now. Your coach will take it from here and allow you to role play this important session by going through the basic money warning. Have fun with that. We'll see you guys again next week, live and in person. Have a good one, everybody.